pas dans le groupe Orisha, ex-Dell Software, mais on était une entité d'origine espagnole. On parle du Club Med?
Par un heureux. La même solution retail que le groupe Rand. Et finalement, on s'est retrouvé un petit peu.
Joking. There you go.
Est-ce qu'on peut enlever, c'est justement ce qu'ils sont en train de faire, est-ce qu'on peut enlever les bouteilles d'eau? Et j'ai demandé
On
à
avait
ce que
des
ce soit
besoins un peu plus larges. En fait,
voilà, si on
à une taille
tout ce qui est
finalement
usagé, c'est
grosse,
adorable. Merci beaucoup.
sur les équipes informatiques et opérationnelles et des problématiques de multinationales.
La prochaine keynote va bientôt commencer, donc je vais vous demander de rester ou sortir.
Dans le monde entier, avec de la facilité d'implémentation.
J'attends que tout le monde ait trouvé sa place, s'il reste des places. Alors, sans transition, donc place maintenant à un keynote qui, je vois, est aussi attendu que le précédent, puisque nous avons la chance d'accueillir pour les prochaines 20 minutes le cofondateur et CEO de Klarna. La présentation sera toujours en anglais. Please welcome Sebastian Siemiatkowski. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Good to see you all. Thanks for having me. It's tough to come up after those amazing AI presentations. I hope to keep you entertained. Let's see if we can get my slides on the wall. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of Klarna. And I also see. Am I getting them? What?
This way. In the corner. This corner. Yes.
Difficult. All right. So let me tell you a little bit about Klarna while I wait for this to come up. So you may be familiar with Klarna. Klarna is an alternative payment solution, a little bit like PayPal. We have started 20 years ago by myself when I was a little bit younger, 23. Now we are globally about 114 million users. We process over $100 billion worth of e-commerce volume every year, and we have about 800,000 merchants that we work with globally, and we're mostly famous for buy now, pay later, but it's just basically one of the many services that we offer. So it's a short-term zero interest credit, but we also offer the ability to pay the full amount, and we offer many other payment methods. So a lot of you may be working with us already here today. In France alone, I just heard from the team now, we have 7 million users here in France and about 9 million users in Italy as an example. So has grown a lot. Now, I was hoping to get some slides to be able to show you a little bit of what we're going to talk about. But I actually, most of this I know by heart. So let me tell you. Klarna has gotten a lot of attention also because of AI. And the reason for that is that it really sits at the core of what we do at Klarna. And this insight actually came to me many, many years ago, long before ChatGPT and all these things. And I asked myself, because I've been talking to so many retailers, I feel like I've met every retailer in the world. I've had the opportunity to meet all of them over all the years that we work with them, since we work with so many of the fantastic big brands. And the key thing I asked myself, what is retail? And I think about it as there's actually basically three things, right? It's curation, the ability to recommend my customer the appropriate product. It is the product and the brand itself. And it is the infrastructure, all the other things that we need to have in place in order to bring the product to the customer at the right price, at the right time, from the right inventory, etc. And if you think about those three, to me, ever since I started working with Klarna, talking to a lot of the retailers, it became more and more clear that over time, it was going to change whether you are in the curating space, or if you're in the product brand space, or you're in the infrastructure space. Take a good example from my home country of Sweden, H&M. What are they? Are they curating? Are they a product and brand? Or are they an infrastructure company? Well, I would argue because of the size of the company, you could say a lot of it is infrastructure, just the logistics of getting all these clothes to all these stores across the world consistently. It's quite a sophisticated challenge. Oh, there we go, thank you. So, let me see if I can also, I'll skip through all of that. These are some of the brands we work with. Let's go on. No. All right, there we go. So there you go, discovery, product, and brand, and infrastructure. So a company like H&M will be a lot of these different things. And we saw L'Oreal here before. And the question to me, when I look at that presentation, I'm asking myself, are you curating? Because if you are going to curate, that means that you're going to recommend your customer the best product. And the challenge is the best product may not be the product that you have. It may be somebody else's, right? So who is curating today? That's influencers, that are Instagrammers, that's websites, that's Cosmopolitan magazine. All of these are curating and helping people find the right product. And it's a slightly different task than creating the fantastic product and brand. That's a different thing. And looking at these industries over the years, I can see that it varies, right? If you create fashion or clothes, you may be both the product and brand, but it's hard to curate because you're always going to have that sweater next to a t-shirt or next to something else. And so curation is more separated. More common for us to just go to a single store, buy a single piece of garment, and then get curation elsewhere. In other areas, cosmetics, it's different because when you buy cosmetics, you much more often buy multiple products together. And so the curation is also different. This is why, in my opinion, people like Sephora has done so well over the many years, because it's been harder for the single mono brands to be successful, because you can only grow to a certain size, and at that point of time, the customer wants more. They want more to choose from. And this has been the constant evolution over my 20 years between retailers who are selling other people's brands and who essentially are curators versus the product and the brands themselves. A good example that I always like to use is, this is just a few years ago. It's just fantastic how much has happened in these years. A few years ago, I would go to Levi's. I would go to their German website, and I wanted to make a purchase of a pair of Levi's jeans, just to test. And turned out that on the website in Germany, it said, we only accept credit cards issued in the UK. I'll surprise you, not a lot of Germans have a British credit card. So obviously, they wouldn't sell a lot. And this is why you had Zalando and you had other people who were more retailers. They were more infrastructure. They were better at creating a good e-commerce experience in the early days of e-commerce to make sure that more customers were buying. But over time came things like Adyen, payment service providers, others starting solving, infrastructure companies, Shopify, e-commerce platforms, all of these companies trying to build the infrastructure for product and brands to be able to sell directly to the consumer. And if you go to Levi's today, I promise you, they do accept more than just British credit cards. So there's been this consistent evolution. And when I think about AI, I think about it in that way. Because these digital assistants that are coming, they're all about discovery. They're all about helping me find the right product at the right price for me. And that's a separate thing than people who are doing product and brands, who are trying to create an amazing product. So to me, when I think about the transition that we're going through and what it means, the people who are going to struggle the most is if you're a mix. If you're a little bit infrastructure and you have a lot of old infrastructure, a lot of old technology, if you don't know really, like, do you have a strong brand, or you're just a strong, are you great at curating? And I think it's going to be to ask a question is like, what do I want to be? What do I want to do? If I'm really great at curating, maybe I can focus on that. Or if I'm really good at product and brand. Because all the rest, infrastructure, is just going to get commoditized. All the problems that a lot of you guys have had to sell online, technology, logistics, all of these things are just going to get easier, easier, easier every year. And just as we've read recently about, you know, in the last few years, you maybe read about somebody building an app and making a fortune because they distribute an app. I am telling you, I think it's very, very close that we're going to see reading an article about some designer who created a pair of jeans and then basically sold 1 million copies of them worldwide because all of the infrastructure and all of the other stuff just works. We're getting closer and closer to that point of time. So this has been my guiding star and my leading star to how to think about what happens with AI. It's interesting, I also want to share one fun story with you, that as a bank, we're kind of a financial technology company, right? So we have both fin and tech. And those businesses are very different than yours. Because retail and brands, the difference is you wake up every morning and you have to think about, how do I get the customer into the store? How do I make sure I bring them the best possible product? How do I work really hard so they're happy? And how do I keep my costs in control so that I don't go out of business? This has not been the case for financial services and tech like myself. Tech and fin are industries that have relied on virtual monopolies. And it has allowed us to be sloppy and lazy and not work as hard as you guys. Because business is given. There's not a lot of competition. And a lot of you guys have, as a consequence of that, been forced to pay too much to the tech advertising companies, share too much of your profit. All of that is going to change. Let me tell you why. Because one of the reasons that there's less competition in technology and fin has because it's hard to compare, right? Comparing products, especially financial services, think about it. What terms, oh my God, there's so long legal contracts here, I need to compare them to this. It's very, very difficult. But AI is going to solve that. It's going to make it much easier for you to compare different solutions. Second, switching cost. I'm sure all of you have made big investments in some technology tech stack to allow you to sell online in e-commerce, right? And even the thought of you maybe saying, hey, there's a better platform out there I could switch to, that would be a big investment and a lot of time. It's not going to be that anymore. It's going to be super easy. You're just going to say, here's my data, I want to go to something better. All of that is going away. So these tech companies won't be able to rely on people not being able to switch. Now, this means that the barriers of entry, as they call them, the difficulties of entering these industries are going down, right? And trust is going to be the new oil. You've heard that everyone was speaking about a few years ago that data is the new oil. It's going to be trust. Who do I trust to make that beauty recommendation for me? Who is honestly, of all these agents, doing that on my behalf and not to promote their own brand or their own service? Whoever is doing that is going to win. But that also means, obviously, less money. So it's going to be much more competitive. Different than you guys, to you, customer service has been vital. But in financial and tech services, it's been 45-minute queue times. Some big tech companies don't even offer customer service, right? So the quiet life is over. And I think it's very, very fair. I think it's very, very fair because all of you have worked in industries where you wake up every morning and have to work your ass off to serve your customer and make them happy. And that has not been true in the industry that I'm coming from. So this is already happening. We can see that pre-AI in technology, you had all these huge billion-dollar perks, zero customer service, products killed without consequence, and now we're starting to see this happen. I say that like these gourmet cafeterias that were offered in these big tech companies, they used to be called culture, now they're going to be called overhead. So this is basically what's happening. For Klarna as a company, we think about this by a Swedish saying, and that is that one person's dead is another person's bread. Meaning that from our perspective, as these things happen, the things that you saw here previously on the stage as well, as AI-powered search is happening, as we're going to get personal finance AI assistants, as you're going to get AI-driven shopping assistants, what does it all mean? It means less margins for tech and financial services and more success for you guys. It's going to be easier to find the product, to sell the product if you have a great product. It's going to increase competitiveness. But if you have a great product, if you don't rely on the fact that you have customers locked up to what you do, but you truly innovate and you create true value for a customer and you're obsessing about customer value, it's not that strange. It's like a restaurant owner that has to wake up every morning and think about how do I bring the best, how do I bring customers and do I make to serve them. So this is very much changing. So at Klarna, what I'm trying to do for the last few years is I'm trying to realize that things are about to change. And because of that, we're very, very focused on customer obsession. To really sit every day and ask ourselves. And I just want to show you a fun example of that. I'm going to skip through these because I have too many slides. And you're going to get very bored if I go through all of them. But I want to show this because I think it's really interesting as an example of what customer obsession means for us. So at Klarna, I'm sure you have the same. We used to have these dashboards, these metrics. Oh, we're looking at conversion rate. We're looking at these. We had all these tools, you know, amplitude, click sense, tech. I mean, I was just drowning in dashboards at Klarna. And still, when I was looking at all these metrics and all this data, I said to myself, the challenge I have is that, like, I feel like I can still bump into a customer and they're unhappy about the experience they have with Klarna. They didn't like it. It was bad. They had a bad experience. So it's like, how is it possible we have all these dashboards, all these things, all these metrics, and still customers are not happy always with what we do? So we wanted to change all of this. And we did that very simplistically. And you're going to laugh about this because you've been doing it your whole life. Which was basically, we said, look, we are going to do two things. We're going to start talking to our customers. Can you imagine? What an AI innovation. Fantastic. You're actually going to talk to your customers. So now we talk to over 200 customers every week. The second thing we do, there are a few technology companies that offer you this, but what you see here on the left-hand side is Full Story. It's one of the great providers of these services. They allow you to log in so detail the customer experience when they interact with their app that we can actually almost do it like replay it. It almost looks like a screen recording, so we can see exactly what the customers were doing. And so what we said is we created one single team whose job was to only call customers and look at these recordings. We watch 5,000 recordings every week. We talk to 200 customers every week. And the conclusion of that is they have to come with an insight. Now, it's easy to create tickets. People love creating work for others. Hey, here's a ticket, you should do this and that and whatever. But we said that's not good enough. We needed to meet some quality standards, and those are, you have to take that ticket, what we call an actionable insight, and you have to be able to see exactly what is the customer's problem directly by just watching it intuitively. In 20 seconds, you should understand. That's a good ticket, because then people really understand what the issue is. Secondly, you have to suggest a solution, change the copy, make it easier to click here, make it easier to have a better experience. And then finally, I don't want to have, 6 months of business cases. Jesus Christ, the worst thing I do is opening a Google Sheet or an Excel and find that like somebody has been calculating on somebody for 6 months when like the financial value is very limited. So, but 5-10 minutes of just estimating quickly what would be the benefit to our customer and to Klarna if we would fix this. And then finally, the estimation of how much work is it to do? How many days is it to fix this? And the funny thing is, this team started doing this, and they started creating these actionable insights. And we started to ask, at Klarna, we are 3,000 people now. We used to be 6,400. But because of AI, we concluded that we are going to be able to do much more with much less. And we are going to face much more competition. So we need operational efficiency. We cannot allow ourselves to be that many. So what we decided to do, because we didn't want to lay off, is we decided to stop recruiting. So for the last 2-3 years, Klarna hasn't recruited. We are, in general, as a tech company, people stay about 5 years, which means that every year, if we don't recruit, about 20% of people leave and go on to take other jobs. And by not recruiting, we have shrank from 6,400 to 3,000. Our revenue has doubled in the same point of time. We process many more transactions, but with much fewer people. Now, obviously, for our employees, you can say this is stressful because it's much more work. But we have really encouraged them to use AI tools, to use all the tools to find efficiencies in the day-to-day work. And we have done one more promise that we have been very honest about, and I really recommend to all business leaders out there. We said to our employees, you're going to share in the benefits. And what that means is that our payroll cost, our total cost of payroll, obviously from 6,400 to 3,000, as you can hear, that's almost half. But our actual payroll cost has only gone down 20%. And the reason for that is we have accelerated compensation among our staff. So we said, your increase in compensation is going to go much farther and faster than previously in order for you to participate in the benefit that these efficiencies create. And that's why we have created an incentive, an aligned incentive with our employees about finding those efficiencies that AI provides in our organization without having the fear of losing jobs. It doesn't necessarily solve it for society at large, but it does solve it for Klarna. So the point is this success team. We put this one small success team in place, and we said to them to talk to customers, to watch these recordings, and to create these tickets. And the funny thing is most of them obviously came from customer care. Not surprised, because they understand our customers really well. And they started creating these tickets. And you know, of the 3,000 people we are today, 1,500 are product and engineers. And they all used to have beautiful roadmaps and tons of things that they were going to work and fix. We started feeding them these tickets instead. And what was interesting to me, it took us only 2-3 months of focusing closely at what the customer wanted before they had replaced all of the beautiful plans and products and everything. We were just flooding them with simple and easy fixes that was starting to create more value for our customers. And we've been doing this now process for a little bit more than a year, and you can see it's accelerated our growth. We're growing faster. We have more satisfied customer. Guys, I'm feeling a little bit ashamed to talk to you about this because it's so obvious for you. You have been forced to do this all the time as a retailer. So you have to talk to customers, walk the stores, understand what the problem is. But this has not been something we have focused enough on in technology and Finn. So it's been a huge transformation for us. And I also wanted to just take the opportunity to highlight it here to you because we are doing that now with our partners. So because we work with many of the people in the room, we basically go to our partners, be it a Zara or a Kaufland or a Macy's, and we now bring these ideas. And the funny thing that happened was that a lot of my salespeople that work at Klarna, they felt a little bit embarrassed. Am I really going to come to the CEO of a large company like this and present them that there is a bug on their website that probably is worth $20 million in transaction volume? Because like we're supposed to talk strategy and the big opportunities and you know all that stuff. And the truth was that the CEOs of those companies have been very happy because not enough focus is being spent on just improving on a small step improvements to how we fix this. So we have been extremely fortunate to see that this has driven a lot of success with our companies. I still have 4 minutes left. So these were some of the kind of day-to-day experiences and stories. Look, I think that personally, I'm a big believer that what we're going through is going to be one of the biggest transformations in business that has happened probably through our lifetimes. And I like, just like everyone else, I don't know what's going to happen. But there is obviously a lot of noise. There's a lot of things that are just noise or demos. We can see these beautiful demonstrations of like chat assistants and this and that. But when you interact with them and you try them yourselves, you realize it works sometimes and then not sometimes, right? The benefit of AI, I think it's funny, you go to ChatGPT, ask a question, it always sounds very certain. It knows exactly the answer. It just turns out that it's not always true. But that's pretty much us humans as well, right? In companies, we also ask people questions and they're like, I know exactly. It's like, not always true. So, but the key thing is, none of us knows where this whole thing is going to go. And so for us at Klarna, what we've been trying to do is just say, let's experiment, let's learn, let's iterate. And even myself personally, I spend a lot of time now actually coding myself. I have never done that before. I'm not an engineer by training. I don't know how to code. But I've started doing that, testing, learning, and challenging, because these tools allow us to do these things. And I think by encouraging everyone in the organization to test and learn, you start seeing that some things work. You may have heard, as an example, Klarna about 2 years ago was one of the first companies to actually launch an AI-powered customer service assistant. And the thing is, what was amazing about it is that it actually worked. Now, how did it work? Is it always better than the human? No. Does it never make mistakes? No. I'll tell you what the big benefit was. First and foremost, all of you will have FAQs or simple like question and answers on your website. This is a much more efficient tool to answer very basic questions. But the most important thing is when at Klarna we had about 80% chat-based customer service, right? So not so many phone calls, mostly chat-based. When a human agent serves a number of customers, obviously not all of those customers are focused, not all of those customers are there. So you will have 5 chats going on at the same point of time as an agent. And the problem for that, as me as a customer, I realize that that's going on because I'm typing there and I'm waiting for the answer, and then the agent is like not answering, and I'm like, hello, I want my answer now. So what we saw is that when we started introducing AI chatbots in that, the average time to solve an errand went from 12 minutes with human to 2 minutes with the AI chatbot. And the main reason was just the AI chatbot is focused on you. It's answering your question. The quality was sometimes lower than the human, not always right. Over time, it's gotten better. So today at Klarna, our AI chatbot does the work of an equivalent of 850 people, right? Which has saved us about $30–40 million. But obviously, as part of that, we also realize there's a backlash. People get angry. Not everyone likes that. And so we try then in parallel to say, you know what, we think at the core of it, AI is going to help us make our processes better, but the interaction has to be human. So the way we think about it now is that some people will just want to use the AI because they just find it more efficient and fast and they don't bother with a human. But some people will like to have a human. So we're trying to think about it in two ways. We both try to find the opportunity to use AI to become more efficient, but we've also launched an initiative we call Always Human internally. And the idea there is to bring a better customer service that is always human, that you as a customer should know that whenever you interact with us, you can always click a button and get to speak to a human. And we think you have to do both, which is very, very difficult, but important. And what we found there, which is super exciting, we started a small initiative where we've taken our customers, and we started asking, we have 110 million customers across the globe, and we asked them, some of them are very passionate, and we asked them, hey, do you want to be a customer service agent? Would you like to work extra for us, helping our other customers? A little bit like people work extra in Uber, or they drive a car, to do things like that. Why can't you just come in and work for us? And we've launched that, and we now have 20 people who are our customers, who love our products, who are now helping and serving other customers. And that is actually, we're very, very big believers in that, because we see the quality, the engagement, and so forth. So what I'm trying to say is I think that these changes that we're seeing, they just require an additional effort of being focused, of experimenting, of testing and trying. And if we lean into this rather than be afraid of the change that's coming, then that will open a lot of opportunities and it can drive a lot of fantastic success. Thank you so much.